Hey, Bev.
Hey, Sam. It's the door's gone.
It's just gone now.
Yeah,
Really?
it's missing.
Did you just like take it off the hinges? Because I feel like, I don't know, you've been a little loosey goosey about it lately.
I figured if we weren't gonna lock it, I mean, why the cluck even have it?
So, who did you let in this time?
So today we have Shannon from Country Fried Tina.
Hello, hello,
Yay!
hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
It's so funny because I just kept saying like Country Fried Tina, and then I was like, shit, what is her name? Oh, it's Shannon. Okay. You're not Tina, you're Shannon.
Oh, that's so funny because people all the time will always message me and they'll say Tina. I'm like, man, I really should have thought that through.
I
Aw.
remember the first time I commented on one of your photos of Tina, I said, "Oh, hang in there, Tina. Like, I hope you're getting better." And then I was like, "Wait, the chicken's name is Tina, right? It's not her name?" I was like, "Oh, crap."
Oh gosh, well she is the star of the show, so it works out.
Yeah, she is just such a cutie too. So I'm excited to learn all about Tina and your other chickens, obviously, because they're important too.
Oh
But
yes.
first, we do have to take care of some business. We do like to go around the room and discuss what everybody's drinking. So,
Oh,
Bev,
well
what
that's
are you
important.
drinking? It is important. It's educational.
It is.
Oh, it totally is. And today I'm drinking my favorite beer on the planet, which is
Oh,
an Arizona beer.
Ooh.
And it is the Coffee Kolsch from Huss Brewing. Somebody drove it
Ooh.
out here from Arizona for me a few weeks ago, and I hid some back in the fridge for a special occasion. And I was like, we're talking to somebody that lives in Arizona. That is a special occasion
I
for
don't
my
think I've
favorite
even
beer.
tried that one. I'm gonna have to give that a try.
oh,
Oh, you definitely do. Huss Brewing is this really great, like, family-owned brewery, and their very first tap room is located right across the freeway from where I used to live in Phoenix. So it's on
Ooh.
Elliott and I-10 in the
Yep.
old Rio Salado Brewing Company.
Oh,
And they're super great. Yeah. So next time you're in Phoenix, you have to go by there
I will
and
definitely do
go
that.
check out their beer
That sounds
because the
good.
coffee Kolsch is magical. It's the most
Man.
magical beer on the planet because it's both coffee and beer.
I mean, it's really like you could just drink it in the morning, like when you wake up.
And I have drank it with breakfast for dinner, but not in the morning.
well, I wouldn't, judge you, Bev, if you drink it in the morning because I drank a beer like the day that Bev and I met. I drank a beer for breakfast, so I get it. Like it happens sometimes.
That's true. Yep.
Sometimes you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking, Sam?
So I went pretty plain Jane today because like I said before we hit the record button, I'm recovering from a concert, a Kenny Chesney concert from last night. So I did a bubbly sparkling water, the mango one, and then I just threw some Tito's vodka in there because I felt like
Ooh.
I needed to hydrate. So I'm hydrating while I'm drinking at the
I
same
mean,
time.
it's practically water, so that works out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's clear, so
Yeah.
that's better allegedly for some reason that I don't understand, but it is.
Oh,
No
Yeah.
artificial colors?
Yeah. I guess like dark alcohol, like dark liquor can be rougher on you, like hangover wise. That's what I've heard. I don't think it really matters if you drink too much of either. So,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine.
I think it's
But
less calories if it's clear too, isn't that
oh,
the case?
see,
We'll go with that.
yeah. Because I'm doing Weight Watchers again. So,
Oh,
there we go. Yeah.
well, it's perfect.
Yeah, we'll just log that. It's
Log
probably
that down.
it's probably like 5 points either way. I'm just like, meh,
Oh,
drinking my dinner.
well, I think I'm going to jump on that vodka train because our friends actually introduced us recently to Seagram's sweet tea vodka. Have you heard of it?
Ooh. No, I
It's
have not.
delicious. It is delicious. It's like drinking it. Anyways, you mix that with some lemonade, lots of ice, and it's just like you're drinking an Arnold Palmer. You just don't even. It's
Oh,
delicious. It's
that
delicious. So that's
sounds
what I've
so
got going on.
good.
I'll have to
Yeah.
tell my husband about that because Arnold Palmer's are like his favorite thing. I think he
Oh, he'll
feels
love it.
bougie when he orders it at like a regular restaurant and we can't be drinking. So yeah, he'll think that's cool.
Oh yeah. Well, my husband drinks this sweet tea vodka. He loves it. Absolutely loves it. It's good. Give it a try.
I will have to do that. We'll have to go to our friendly liquor store owner guy place. That didn't come out how I wanted it to. But you know what I mean.
We have a harder time finding liquor than Shannon does in Arizona because Arizona's pretty loosey-goosey with where you can buy the liquor and the beer from.
Oh, yeah.
Neither of our states really are. So,
Oh yes, I think
Yeah.
we have options over here.
yep.
So what you're saying is you're set up for success in
We are
Arizona
very successful here. Very successful.
in getting the alcohol.
Lots
Yes,
of
yes.
options.
So if you're looking for a good place to have that drink and farm lifestyle, it sounds like AZ is where it's at.
Arizona.
Yeah.
There it is.
There
Northern
we go.
Arizona too.
Northern Arizona, because you don't have to live through the 115-degree summers.
Yes.
And you still get their sweet alcohol laws.
That's
there we
it.
go.
That's exactly it.
That's what we call a win-win.
Oh, you just took it. I was going to say that right now. It's a win.
We're on the same wavelength. That's
Twinning.
good. Yeah. So the reason I wanted to have Shannon come on the podcast was because, as most of you might be aware of if you follow me on Instagram, or if you're a listener, we've been talking about Merrick's for freaking forever because I had a scare in my flock and I got a necropsy and it took forever to figure out what was wrong. Now, fortunately, my flock doesn't have Merrick's. I'm going to knock on wood so I don't jinx myself because you can just get it really easily. So I really leaned on Country Fried Tina during that time to give me advice on like how she figured out that she had Merrick's in her flock and things like that. So because there's so much misinformation out there, we wanted to bring somebody on that has had real life experience and has a little survivor in Country Fried Tina of Merrick's. So obviously we want to get to know you better in general too. We don't want to just talk about all the sad stuff. So why don't you tell us how you got into chickens?
I will. I appreciate everybody reaching out because it's just been so awesome to have so many people to lean on and be supportive when this was just a pretty shitty situation to begin with. But what happened was we used to live in California. We were in the city. Me and my husband, we have 3 kids, and we decided we wanted to move them out towards more of a country lifestyle so they can have animals and raise them and do that stuff because that's just, what we wanted for them. So we moved out here to give that a go. We bought our acre, and the first animals we purchased, besides our dogs that we have already had, were chickens. So we got them as little babies, and we started out with a little groupling of them, and then we picked up our silky chickens as well, and that's where we had our Tina. So we've just been raising them, and later on in the flock we added a rooster, so everything was coming together and it was all going great. And that's just how we pretty much got into the chickens, is we just wanted our kids to get to experience that and get to have an empathy for animals and learn how to take care of them. And we all decided on them, so we went with that, and we had our perfect little flock and our little coop, and everything was just as we wanted it to be. And then everyone started to get a little bit sick, but I don't know if you want me to go into that yet, or
No, yeah, you can go into that now.
Okay.
I think that's a nice little segue of everything is hunky-dory because one of the things Bev and I talk about frequently too that people might be getting sick of is a lot of the times when you're looking on Facebook or Instagram, especially like the really big, beautiful farm accounts, like it seems like
yeah.
nothing bad ever happens.
yes,
So, or I had a feeling of like invisibility for a while, like nothing was wrong with my flock because I'm just that good of a chicken keeper. And it was very humbling to kind of get knocked off my pedestal a little bit there.
Oh God, I get it. I understand,
Yeah.
because you're like, what is happening? Everything.
Right.
You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, and then something's going wrong, and you can't figure it out. So, That's
Yeah.
kind of, what happened is I honestly, to this day, I have no idea what brought it here, but from what
Yeah.
all my research is saying is, anything could have brought it from how contagious it is, like a quail walking from yard to yard, birds, wild birds, someone with an infected coop coming into your yard, it spreads like wildfire. So I don't know what gave it to us, but slowly but surely, we just started losing them. Well, we had 12, and now we have 8. So we lost 4 out of our 12, and the other 8 are holding on. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I've got this under control. But yeah, they just kind of, one of our chickens just showed no symptoms, and then one day just passed away overnight, and I couldn't figure it out, and I kind of just chopped it up to, gosh, I must have missed something, or egg bound. You hear all these things, and then if you look things up online, every symptoms match every disease. So you could be like,
Yes.
Right.
fluffed feathers, they're egg bound, or they have merrick's, or they're
Yeah.
dying of, and you're like, what the heck? You don't know
Yeah.
But
what's
all symptoms lead to dying. That's the most
Yeah.
important
Yes, and
part.
it's always death. You're like,
Oh.
chicken's hunched over, dying. I'm like, what the heck? I can't keep
It's
up
like
with it.
WebMD.
You're like, well, what's
Humans.
the point then?
Oh my gosh, I know. My poor husband, I drive him just absolutely crazy because I'm always, doing that. I'm like, oh gosh, I have a cramp. I'm dying of cancer. Or, he's like, get off the Google.
Get off the Google.
Yeah, it's driving him crazy. So then,
Yes.
the same thing was going on with the chickens. Slowly one would be. Oh, and then if you were following along, we had our Buff Orpington, Arnie, and she was one of my favorites. Of course, it's always the favorites that this
Yes.
happens to.
Always.
And yeah, and she got the worst case of Ryeneck I've ever seen, and I had no clue what Ryeneck was at the time. So I looked it up, and that's the really neat thing about this whole Instagram thing is, just all the people that are just so willing to help you. When you put out the video, I'm like, I don't know what she's got. And then everybody just like, oh, she has this or this or this. And you're like, okay, now I have something to work with. And then you go and try to figure it out. So it was
Right.
it was really good. But, I fixed, well, I thought I had her all healed up. She was back to normal in 3 days and perfectly great and back with the chickens and totally normal. And then one day she just got sick again. And then that one was a horrible case. She actually ended up dying in my arms, that one.
Aw.
And so it was just
That's the
devastating.
worst. Yeah.
Oh, it was just horrible. And you just feel like there's nothing you could do. And it comes out of nowhere because that morning before she was completely fine. So I
Yeah.
think that's been kind of the hardest thing to deal with at Merrick's is like one day they look totally normal and the other one they're dead.
Right.
So it's kind of like a waiting game, honestly. I think I have a pretty good flock now. I'm trying to keep up on their vitamins and make sure they're all, squared away, but it's still, in the bottom, back of your brain. I could walk out there to let them out every morning and one could not be alive because it's just how bad this stinking disease is.
Right.
So it's kind of a weird little niche, but I don't know. But
Yeah,
yes.
I think there are more flocks out there that have it than people are even willing to admit because kind of going back to the idea of like that picture perfect Instagram farm, which there's nothing wrong with those bigger pretty accounts. Like there's a purpose for that. But I
Oh,
think some
yes.
people are like kind of almost ashamed if something like this happens to their flock because you feel like you take such ownership over what you're doing and then
Yeah.
this is just totally beyond your control. Like you said, you don't know how it came in. Like
Yeah,
it could
you
just be
can't do anything.
a bird dropping something and like my birds will try to eat anything. Like they run around with dead mice in their mouth all the time. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like,
Mine too.
they're crazy.
My
So-
chickens can't free range right now because there's water balloons all over our backyard, and
Oh.
I'm positive that they're gonna eat them all. So they don't free range until the kids pick up all the water balloons.
And they're locked up for a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. That was actually really surprising as well. And it's funny that you do say that because even for me, I struggled with even announcing that I had this going on because you do feel like a sense of embarrassment, like maybe I've done something wrong or I don't
Right.
know, what are they going to say about it? There's just so many standards that people kind of hold you up to. And, but
Right.
for me, I felt like I just needed to be open about it because one, it can help me, people that have it can give me advice, which did happen. And and then another thing is if, I could help someone else with what they got going on, then it's just kind of worth it for me to just be honest about it. But you would be really surprised how many people actually do have it. They, but, and I don't blame them for not wanting to say anything.
Right. And
But
that's their choice. Like
exactly.
you can decide obviously what you want to talk about openly or not. That's totally your prerogative, but I do think it's powerful, and I've had people come and say to me too in my DMs like, "Thank you so much for sharing this." And, being so open, because now I feel like that I'm not a failure, because it's just sometimes these things happen no matter what you try to do. So there is a real value in stepping out and talking about those things if you're comfortable with it. If you're not, that's totally fine. There's no judgment with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
But don't be
definitely.
judgmental when, somebody is putting themselves out there, because it's scary.
Oh,
Like
it
you
is.
don't
It's terrifying. And then, when they all just started passing away, my rooster was like one of my, it's always a favorites, like I said, but it's just, every time it like hit like a ton of bricks, you're like, what am I doing wrong? And then, I finally decided I was going to do some more research. A lot of people reached out to me via IG, and they were just like, "Hey, have you ever considered this?" And I said, "You know what? That's exactly what I'm thinking it is." And I ended up finding, which may be helpful for people if you want to link it or anything, but it's this laboratory in Allen, Texas, where you can ship a little blood sample. It's $18, and you can ship out a blood sample from one of your live pets, so you don't have to do, a necropsy or whatnot.
right.
And you can send it out, and then it'll come back telling you whether or not your flock is positive. And that's actually what I ended up doing. And it was, I think, vetdna.com, I believe it
Okay.
was. And the results
Yeah.
came back in 2 days, and Tina, of course, tested positive. So,
Yeah. No, that seems like such an interesting service to me, and it was something that I considered doing, and I kind of am kicking myself that I didn't, because I paid out the ass for necropsy. It was like almost $200.
I know, I can't believe that.
And then, and that was the state extension option too. So in some states will do them for free or for like under $100. So I was like shocked, because I was looking at the prices for large animals. So like a farmer, maybe if they have a lot of disease going on in their flock, it was like $500-$600
Oh,
for
my
like a
Lord.
large animal. And it's like, how can a normal person do that? Like,
Oh,
I
it's
was
impossible.
fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I had the money in savings, but that's not like what I was saving for.
Yeah,
Right? You were saving for something fun.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
yeah, so that's what I really appreciate you sharing that option too. So how did you get the blood sample from Tina?
Well, that's a good question. I actually ended up getting, just those cotton sterile swabs that you would use like at a medical office that you put in the tube. We used one of those, and what I did is I used, a little nail clipper, and I clipped Tina's toenail, a little bit too short to where it bled, and then I got a blood sample that way, and just
Okay.
put it in the tube, filled out their little form, with payment, and sent it off. And then in 2 days, I had an email saying, Merrick's positive.
Oh,
So
Wow, 2 days.
yeah, it was very, very fast. I was shocked, and so it came
wow.
back, but it was good because this was mid. She was ill. She had her neck issue going on, which honestly, as far as that goes, I think she has permanent issues from this whole thing. But that being said, so that was during this whole process. So when it came back, I was like praying that it was negative, but
Right.
it was not. But then, in the same sense, at least I knew. I tried to take the positive from it and just say, well, now I know why my other ones were passing away. I had no clue what was
Right.
going on, and now I know. So now I'm just trying my best to be proactive and keeping them as healthy as I can. The thing with Merrick's is, at least from what I've researched, and I've spoken with a few veterinarians about it as well, just to pick their brain. And, there just doesn't seem to be a cure for it. There's no proof that anything cures it. And once one has it, your flock has it, as far
Right.
as being a carrier. And
So everyone in your flock is a
yeah,
carrier. Did
everyone.
you send out a blood test for everybody else in your flock, or?
No, I didn't. And that's funny because I was thinking, I wonder if later on maybe I should just run another one just to see what's going on, just because I'm curious. But from what I was told is that, and from the rest of them passing, they were all together. So they said, from the veterinarian I talked to as well, she had mentioned that once one has it, the others are carriers, and that they don't necessarily get the symptoms of it. So just because they are a carrier of it doesn't mean that the cell will ever activate, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yes.
So
Yeah, so they're carriers that don't present the
yeah,
symptoms
so they
of
won't have
Merrick.
the
So they get to
symptoms.
live their happy chicken lives without
Exactly,
ever
that's
showing
it.
any of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that it just depends on what you're having your chickens for. Mine are pets, and that's what I have them for. So for me, like the option of culling your culling, is that the right word? Culling your
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the word. Yeah.
yeah. Doing that to your entire flock over this was just not really an option for me. Though I got many messages saying you should probably do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all
And
Well, it would still be in your coop though and on your
yeah.
land.
yeah, it's still
So,
there.
like, if you culled your whole flock, you'd have like a really long waiting period and you'd probably have to like burn everything down that they
Yeah,
had ever
I'm like I
touched.
practically
Like, in
have
order
to.
to make sure that you didn't have Merricks.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just so
So,
widespread, I guess. And then, if even if it does clear up on your land, doesn't mean that another bird can't walk on next door and walk right over, and then you have it
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
again.
because birds like shit wherever they want
Yeah,
to. So,
those damn rats, I swear. They drive me crazy. Oh, Lord. But yeah, so it's just been just a little battle, but I don't know. I've decided for my own flock and my own preference, just try to keep everyone as healthy as I can and give them, their little lives as best they can, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I've actually had somebody reach out to me and say, "Don't feel bad if it is Merrick's, because if there are veterinarians that will say if you have air in your coop, you probably have Merrick's because it's
Yeah.
that widespread."
Yes, I've heard this.
Yeah, so maybe that may or may not be true. Maybe in some areas of the United States it's more prevalent than others.
That could be.
But it's just that easy to catch. So it's a big deal, obviously, because it affects the health of your flock.
Yes,
But it's not a big deal in the way of it's your fault, because it's just that
correct.
simple.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think
think that's just kind of the takeaway is, it's not really anybody's fault. You just do the best you can, and
that's it.
shit happens. So.
That is exactly
Literal
shit
shit
does
happens.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shit happens.
And you do. I think a lot of these flock owners, they do feel really bad about what goes wrong. I mean, I felt terrible. I was in tears and I was thinking, my God, I've done something wrong. But there just is nothing you can do, and it is so widespread. Especially I know for sure here in Arizona, from what I've talked to, there seems to be an epidemic of it. It's just going around everywhere.
Oh.
So I'm like, my guy, I know I told my husband jokingly, I'm like, we just got to burn it all and move. He's like, you're crazy. So that's just, it's important for people to know that, it's not necessarily a death sentence, though there were many deaths. It's just,
Right.
I think at some point maybe the weak ones kind of go out, or at least I'm hoping that's the case, but
yeah,
everyone
I mean,
seems okay.
from what we've sort of learned as we've gone through this process is that because Merrick's is so prevalent, the resistance to it has sort of been bred into some flocks. Some chickens just naturally don't show the signs of it. So,
Yeah.
like, the more that those chickens continue to reproduce, like, the more likely it is that you have more birds in your flock that are resistant to Merrick's.
Well, see, that's positive news for people that want to keep on adding to your flock, because
Yeah,
then
keep on chicken keeping.
yeah, keep on chicken keeping. I know, because I struggle with that too. I know we had just gotten to a point actually when this all kind of came to a head where everyone was starting to lay their eggs, or I had some layers, but then the silkies were laying their eggs now, which again might have brought it on because it says egg laying is stressful, and that could have started the whole
Oh.
process is because it happened. Tina had just started laying her eggs. Then this whole thing happened with her. So I don't know if that's necessarily what did it, but I don't know. But it was kind of a, I guess, a just a crappy situation because you had your flock where you're like, okay, I'm gonna have some more. We got our rooster. We're going to have babies. I had high hopes of maybe, selling them or,
Yep.
keeping them. And now that's, I wouldn't do that now because of the risk of spreading it. But it definitely was definitely a humbling experience knowing you really just can't control what's going on.
Right.
going on. But
Exactly.
Well, and now that you have Merrick's in your flock, have you expanded your flock at all since then, like with birds that are vaccinated against Merrick's?
I have
Or
not actually. Right now, I did expand my flock as far as I've gotten three new ducklings, but not but the ducks I guess can't catch Merrick, so that's kind of why I went that
Right.
route.
yep.
But I haven't gotten to the point where I wanted to add to my chickens because I just kind of want to see where everyone's at and make sure I have them up to par. And Tina still has quite a bit of issues that I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with her, and I just don't feel right quite adding to them yet if I don't know what exactly
Right.
I'm going to do. And then there's so much conflicting information on vaccinating, and although I probably would end up doing that route, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
tough decision to make. Yeah. That's the one thing that we've discovered as we've been doing research on it.
Right.
Yeah, it's just everyone
Yeah.
has kind of their own little. I don't know. I haven't figured out which way I'm going to go with it yet, so I'm just kind of waiting and watching.
And it's tough too because so much of the research that's done for chickens is in light of the commercial use of chickens as egg producers or meat producers. And it can be like decades old because they're like, oh, yeah, if it's Merrick's, like the eggs are fine to eat and da 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 da
Yes.
da. Because
Yes.
that's all they care about. Not this is my pet and I eventually want more pets of the
Yes.
same
Yeah.
variety.
Yeah, I
So
would
can
like
I
to have pet chickens.
yeah.
Right.
So, like, what is the best approach to adding to a flock? Should I burn everything down and wait a year? Can I add them if they're vaccinated? It's just really tricky. But I did hear you say that you do vitamin therapy. So, what
I
is
do.
that?
Well, for instance, with Tina's neck, anyway, for her, she's kind of different. I have her going on a different regimen than the rest of the flock, just because she still has these little wry neck symptoms. So on her, she does vitamin E, B12, and selenium, so that the selenium, I guess, helps their bodies absorb the vitamin E. So I do have her on that. You can also use like the polyvisol without iron. Did I say?
Yep, polyvisol. Yeah, that's the children's
Yes,
vitamins
the
that are in
children's
the little
vitamins.
droppers that you can pick up like at your Walgreens or whatever your local pharmacy is.
Oh.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I had some for the goats,
Oh,
but I
good.
accidentally bought the one with iron, so I didn't get to use it on them.
Oh, yeah. I know. I guess that, yeah, that one's, you definitely want it without iron. So she'll have those. And then, of course, this is the one that I was reached out. A lot of people gave me advice on, and they say that it worked for their flock. And, for me, if Merrick's had no cure and Tina was definitely headed that direction, I'm like, what's the harm in doing all I can? So I went with this option, but I don't know if you've heard of colloidal silver. Colloidal
Yep.
silver. That, and it's St. John's wort. It's had another name to it, but those I will give one. I'll switch them off every 4 hours or just every couple days at this point. I'm doing, but with her, the rest of my flock. And they say, and with the colloidal silver, I don't know for sure. I haven't done another test or anything on her to make sure, but it's even in like the chicken handbook book as well. That a lot of people will use that in their flocks, and some people are swearing that it's shrunken, tumors caused by Merrick's or stuff like that. And I don't know for sure if it does or not, but I am giving it just to make sure it can't harm her. So I don't see.
Right. Yeah.
Why not give it a try? And she's still here. So, and it
So you
wasn't.
must be doing something right.
Yeah, and yeah, it was very touch and go. It was not good at all. So I didn't expect her to make a turnaround, and she did. So I'm hoping that that's what I added to the whole regimen that did help. I don't know if it'll help everyone, but it definitely helped. I guess our situation. As far as the rest of my flock, I just make sure, I try to keep them as stress free as possible, as far as like, for instance, this heat lately has been huge on everyone's flocks, it seems like. So I'm constantly out there just making sure they have their ice treats or, iced waters, making sure that they're, sometimes I'll hose down their coops just to make sure that it's cooler. I added plants around it to add more shade. Just things like that for them. And then, of course, I'll put like, oregano in there, water, so, every, I don't know, once a week I do these little, I kind of switch them off throughout the week. Oregano, and then I'll do electrolytes. I just kind of throw these things in their water here and there. So I just kind of just been doing that sort of thing for them. And so far, everyone seems to be doing okay. I haven't lost any it's been a few months now, so I'm hoping that what I'm doing is working.
Yeah. That's good though, because I mean, obviously my flock has something different, but we lost one. When was it? Like, it was this past week, and it was one that had been sick and then got better and then got sick again. So it can be touch and go. So I'm really hoping like that was the last one.
Yeah.
Because they were all in like the same brooder space when they were young. And with avian leukosis, it can pass to chick when they're very young. But after that, you're fine.
Okay. So your other ones wouldn't have it? It's just the ones that were nearby each other?
Well, it's a little tricky because they can get it through mating once they're bigger. So if they're like a carrier, they can pass it along. So everybody's like, cull all your roosters. Well, I'm not necessarily okay with that. We already had to cull some anyways because we had too many.
Yeah.
And now that I don't know who has what and I can't afford to just test everybody.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's just, I had to get in the mindset of it's the best thing for the flock as a whole. And just, we had to call quite a few of them, which was, it just feels like such a waste, but I wouldn't want to take the risk of, infecting somebody else's flock.
Correct. Yeah.
Like I couldn't sleep well at night with that. I can sleep better knowing that they had a painless death over I'm inflicting pain on somebody else's flock because I couldn't do the right thing.
Correct.
So
yeah. I know it's such a hard thing.
It's not easy at all. Even just making the choice to say, okay, I'm going to let everybody live even though they might get this disease. That's not necessarily an easy thing either. But because you found something that works and you're giving them a fighting chance, it just makes sense to not necessarily do the quote unquote easy thing of just calling everybody and trying to work through it. So kudos to you for like doing your research and just trying, because some people would just give up.
Yeah. I think, it's a learning process, and it's just been there's been days where I'm like, okay, everything's going good. And then there's other days where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's falling apart. This is great.
Yeah.
It's funny because I told my husband this too. It's you picture, you want to buy a farm and you want to have your little, perfect little, animals running around your yard. And even I didn't expect chicken keeping to be so strenuous, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You're
that
always worried
totally
about
makes
them.
sense.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm like, I love those little buggers, and they're just so funny. And even just like free ranging, you're like, oh my god, I didn't even realize there were hawks in the sky, and now I'm like constantly like, where are the hawks?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, it's just so funny. You just don't. Those darn hawks. Oh man.
Well, and I think that's sort of like the new wave of what I've been seeing, we spend so much time on Instagram. I feel like we talk about it an awful lot. But and one of the reasons why we do this podcast is like when I decided to move across the country and like homestead, I was only following those accounts where like everything was always like hunky dory and everybody always lived and like nobody ever got sick and nothing bad ever happened. So like when my first chicken got sick, I was like, what the hell is this? Like,
Yes. Like, what is
this
happening?
isn't supposed to be happening to me. This is supposed to be easy and fun. And my life is supposed to be like this magical place filled with farm animals. Like,
That's
Right.
it.
and that's, yeah.
Like you're Cinderella or some shit.
I'm Cinderella surrounded by
Cinderella.
chickens instead of.
Oh,
Instead of like the mice and the little
yes,
songbirds
throwing in a
dressing
block
her.
of cheese and
My
Oh,
goats are
man.
making my beds and my chickens are doing my dishes.
well, it's so true. It's just so funny how that's just how you picture these things, and it's so much more work than that. It's fun, but you're like, my gosh, I didn't realize so many things can actually go wrong in a second.
Yeah.
Well, and I find that it's super worth it to like I wouldn't have ever made any different decisions like
Oh,
knowing what I
no.
know now.
Yes.
This is still like the life that I wanted to live.
Yes.
But part of that is because I think I knew in the back of my mind that like I mean, I've always had dogs and I've had dogs with health problems of like varying degrees. So I was always I always knew that animals could get sick and they
Oh,
needed
yeah.
care when that happened. So I think most people do really like know that in the back of their head. It's just that
Yeah.
like with a chicken, there's not every place has a vet that treats chickens. So you're really reliant on like your chicken community to help you.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring it up. That whole not having a vet, because it's very common how many people actually don't have them nearby. So it has
Yeah.
been really nice, and it's amazing how much knowledge the IG people have. Like that they reach out and they're like, try this, and you're like, wow, I would have never even known to do that. So it's just pretty awesome that you have that resource to reach out to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like we'll complain sometimes about like how some people are kind of a-holes or stuff like that. But
Oh,
it's
yes.
like there's a reason that we're still on there because the good does outweigh the bad or the annoying. It's just human nature to focus on the negative.
Yes.
So you're right, though, to point that out, that everybody is always quick to come, at least even just share their condolences or say sorry because they've been there to some degree. Most people have had a sick chicken or have lost a chicken or some kind of farm animal. So they know that, like, if I go over to Facebook where it's just mostly people that I know, they're not going to give an F that
Yes.
I lost a chicken. They're going to be like, why are you so upset?
Why are you worried
It's
about a chicken?"
Like
But to
I
me,
ate
it's-
chicken nuggets for
yeah.
dinner last night. Like just cook
Yeah.
it. It's fine. You're like, no, that was my pet.
Yeah, it's
I
like
can't
it's
eat
like
that
a
chicken.
dog, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a dog or a cat when that's the intention. Like Bev's done meat birds and she knows how to separate, these are meat and these ones are my
Yes,
pets and
yeah.
she wouldn't eat her pets necessarily.
No, I would never eat my pets.
Yeah, it's funny how separate them
Yeah.
out so you know what you compartmentalize or whatnot.
Yeah, my brain has totally
Exactly.
compartmentalized. Like I didn't name them all individually. All of their names were nuggets, so that was what they were.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't even think of eating these particular chickens.
Yeah. Oh
But-
no, not at all. And Tina is just so damn cute too. Like she
thank you.
won. I did the giveaway with Grubbly and the Little White Coop a couple months ago, and Tina just stole the show, man. Like you
Oh,
had
I
some
remember
creative,
that.
creative
Oh,
pictures.
it was so cute.
My little
They were
hitchhiker.
so good. Yeah.
Actually, it was not that long after that she came down with all of her
Yeah.
issues. I couldn't believe it, and that just goes to show you, it's like that week, she was completely normal, and then the next
Right.
week you're like, what the heck? So,
Yeah.
I guess that's just part of it. Just gotta make best with what you got going on. But
Yeah.
she's doing good. I mean, I'm still treating, and I honestly don't know what the outcome of this whole situation is going to be for her, because after all, I guess in the back of my head, I have to know that there may not be a cure, because that's what everyone is saying. So, you kind of have to process that in your brain and know that, maybe someday, the time will be up, but I'm just not quite ready for that. And I'm just going to keep on
Right.
going
Yeah.
with it. So,
And at least you'll know you did absolutely everything you could to give her, the quality of life she deserves and that you fought for her. And she's fighting too.
Yeah, she
You know.
is. She's a trooper, and I don't know. She's just, like I was telling, it's actually been a little bit heartbreaking for the kids because, of course, now that we've kind of got the flock, I mean, unfortunately, literally every favorite one has passed away.
Oh,
I'm not kidding. Yeah, and of course, it's my daughter's chickens that are
Mm-hmm.
passing away. So each one, they just, they were heartbroken over. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Tina, you have to be here. So everyone's just kind
Yeah.
of pulling for her. So she's doing her best, and now she's kind of, we've kept her away from the flock so long that now she's kind of, she's gone rogue. She's on her own. So she's with us all the time. She's with us all the time, and the dogs, when they come in at night, the dogs will sleep, and Tina nestles in right in between the dogs now. So that's kind of where
Oh, that's
where she's at.
adorable.
We have a Great
God.
Dane, and the first time she did it, he kind of looked at me like, "What the heck is she doing?"
Oh.
She's going crazy. The chicken's crazy. So that was kind of funny. But now he just kind of lays there. He knows she's going to cruise on over every night.
Oh, that's so cute.
Oh,
It's kind of a fun little thing that she's doing right
that's
now.
so adorable. Oh
Well,
my God.
one of the other really fun things that you do with Tina is you attach those little bows into
Oh,
her hair.
Yes.
Can you describe on a podcast how you do that? Or is that something that requires
Well,
like visuals?
I don't know. I mean, what I use is just, little girls' hair bows, the tiny ones with the clip on the back. And that's all
So
they
they're
are.
little bows with a clip. Okay.
Yeah. So, Target, Walmart, whatever, make your own. And, some of them used to be my daughter's little bows that they outgrew and they didn't want anymore. So I just used them. I was like, I wonder if she'd let me do it. But, each chicken is different because she's just such a mellow little gal. So she would just really let me do whatever I wanted. So she would just sit there and I would just, kind of bunch her little hair or, her little fluff, her little floof into my hand, make it small and just kind of clip the bow in. I don't know if that really makes sense, but she was just
Yeah.
so easy that it was just simple to kind of do it. Now, if I try to put a bow on my other silky, she won't have it. She's not feeling it. She's like, "You're insane."
So not every silky can wear a bow.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking not because she's special. But yeah, I'll see if she'll let me do it again. But I've been kind of giving her a break on her bows since the whole incident. But I tried to do
Yeah.
one the other day actually on Virginia, our other one, and she was like, "Hell no." I am not. She is just spunky. So that didn't work out, but I know.
Oh, that's too cute. Well, we do like to ask all of our guests if you have any funny or weird farm stories. You gave us a cute little tidbit there with the bow stuff, but is there anything else that stands out to you since you've started keeping chickens that's like really funny or weird?
Gosh, I feel like, oh, that's funny. When you're on the spot, it's hard to remember. But I remember, just everything, actually. I feel like every single day, something ridiculous happens where you're like, what the heck is going on in this house? Like, for instance, yesterday, this happened. It's Tina. I put her out in the garden every day in the morning, and so she can kind of walk around and do her stuff. She likes me to fill up the sunflower area with water, and she kind of plays in the water. And
Aw.
so I do that for her in the morning. So I put her out there. Well, yesterday I was sitting at the table having a cup of coffee with my husband, and I look outside, and this huge hawk landed in the garden on the fence. Right,
my
and
God.
I mean he's looking right at her. I don't know how he didn't see her, but I frickin' panicked, and I'm like not wearing, outdoor clothes. But anyways, you should see. I think
Were you wearing any clothes?
I was wearing some clothes.
Okay, good.
I was, in fact, wearing some clothes, but my neighbors probably thought I was a psychopath, and I don't even think I had shoes on. But I hauled butt all the way over there, and, luckily it chased off this hawk. But the point, it was just so funny because you don't expect, you're not ready for these things. So honestly, I could have been stark butt naked, and I probably still would have ran out there to stop this darn hawk. And so, yeah, I guess those things happen a lot. The ducks are always doing something funny. Yesterday, I walk out my door and there's like a 5-inch tarantula right to the right. It
Oh, I
just,
saw that.
yes, and I it
Oh,
I
literally,
did. I saw that too.
oh, just, yeah, it's crazy. And then, of course, my dog tries to get it, and then there's always the fun snake adventures where you go in your coop and you're surrounded and you're like, holy Jesus, I am in flip-flops and I have no business being next to this damn snake. But, stuff like that happens all the time. Tina was actually attacked by a snake. I don't know if I told you guys.
oh yeah, I saw
Oh.
that.
I guess in hindsight, looking at it, it might look funny, but at the time it wasn't funny. But I was just like, "Holy crap! How's this happening to me?" But I don't know, just little things like that. I don't know if it's as funny as I'm seeing it in my brain, but
It's crazy.
there's just I guess just the unexpected stuff happens all the time. Or you have a chicken that jumps on you from out of nowhere, and you're like, "What the hell?" You know.
Like, I'm not a landing pad.
Yeah, so you're like, where did you even come from? And I know, like, you use them, like Grubblies. If you
Oh, yeah.
you bust that bag out, and you are like attacked. It's like a bunch of dinosaurs coming
Yeah.
in hot, and you're like, Jesus, you just like want to throw the bag so that
Yeah.
they,
I have thrown the bag.
yeah, it's the funniest thing, and I haven't seen that with all the chicken treats, but they lose their damn minds when you get that bag out.
Yeah.
They recognize it now.
Yes, they do.
And Bev and I have the Grubbly, like the tubs, the 5-pound tubs.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
As our sponsors, they sent us a couple of those.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it's like, I bust that out and like freaking bandits doing keg stands off of
Oh,
it. Like
see?
trying to like it's a party.
I mean, I don't really
Their
blame
little
them.
happy hour. No.
I feel like every single animal, even it's not even like just the chickens, but all of them
no.
like attack that thing.
My goats will eat them too. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
My dogs try to get them. And then there's always the whole poop issue. That's always exciting when you get. I don't think there's been a day where you're not pooped on at some point.
Yeah. Or
All of my
stepping in
clothes
it.
have
Stepping in
some
it.
sort of poop in it. Yeah.
Yes, and can we talk about duck poop? Like I did not realize the
Oh,
amount of
duck poop. Oh, they're adorable, but they are messy
Yes.
as all get out.
They sure are.
Yes. And we have like 10 ducks now. Well, 10 regular sized ducks, and then we have like 6 call ducks or 5, 6 call ducks, so they're small. But those little guys just shit all over the place too. It's nuts.
Yeah, and then that's they poop everywhere, but they're like they want to come right up to the door and just poop all over. They're like, oh, good. So
Like don't forget about me. I'm gonna leave my mark here
Yeah.
for you, Mom.
so the next time I chase a hawk with no shoes on, you bet your butt I'm going right through duck poop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well,
I
like,
wonder if it's like an exfoliant though or something.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of something to it, right?
oh, I hope so.
Mud masks, anyone?
Yeah, maybe. Ew. I would have. Oh, duck shit on your face. Though. I don't know.
No,
We'll
that
just,
sounds
we'll
like it would
just
be
keep
awful.
it on the feet. Yeah,
On
yeah.
the feet. We'll do a feet.
Feet masks.
A feet rub.
Yeah.
Feet scrub.
Well, I was going out to go bowling with some friends a few weeks back, and I picked up one of my friends that lives in my town. I live like 30 minutes from the nearest place to go do anything. So whenever I go do something, I always try to like bring people with me. That way we can all like go together. And she got in the truck and she's like, something like smells like poop. And I'm like, oh, that's gotta be me. And I jump out, and sure enough, I had like stepped in like a pile of goat poop or something. My goats were scouring at the time. So there was like goat diarrhea on the bottom of my Birkenstocks. And I was like, yep, that's a good way to break these things in.
That's going to happen. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I like ran over to
it
her
does.
grass and rubbed my feet in them and rubbed them off. I'm like, all right, we're good. She's like, okay, if you say so.
Goodness.
Hashtag farm life.
Yeah, pretty much. She does not live on a farm, so.
Oh my gosh.
But see, that's another reason I love the Instagram community too, is because like they get it, and we can share things on there that normal people, quote unquote normal people,
They just don't get. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I tell
And
family members like, "Oh, this happened today," and they'll be like, "You are crazy." And then you tell
Yeah,
other people, and they're
yeah.
like, "Oh, that happens to me all the time." I'm like, I know I'm not crazy.
No, you just have to know your audience. That's what it comes down to.
That's it. That's it. I know it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us and talk with us. And
Oh gosh, I
like, this
appreciate
is
you guys even
seriously
asking.
so much fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just knew we had to have you on because you're honestly one of my favorite Instagram accounts. So
Oh,
I was
that's
like
nice. Thank you.
kind of fangirling a little bit.
Oh,
So we
stop
hope
it.
more people will go check you out because I love the stuff you post and how open you are with just everything.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So yeah, you're welcome.
And then, if anyone, or you guys need me to, write down all the stuff that I'm doing or whatnot, if the names don't line up or make sense, I can send that over to you guys. But I really appreciate you guys reaching out and having me on. It was super fun.
Oh, it was super great to have you. And I'll have you send me over the dosage info for the different vitamins, and I'll
Okay.
include them in the show notes for people, and links to vitamins so
Okay,
that
sounds
people
good.
can give that regimen a try if they're dealing with the same thing. Obviously none of us are vets.
I was just gonna say, I would
Yeah.
like to
Yeah.
I would like to point out that I am not a doctor in any way. This is just
Yeah. This is
Right,
just
yeah.
like
Trial and error.
anecdotal experience,
Yes.
which I feel like farming has been sort of anecdotal experience from the beginning.
Yes.
So I feel comfortable sharing that information. And obviously, if anybody's not comfortable trying it, they don't have to. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
then
that's
there's no
it, too.
guarantees. But if you want to give it a try, if you have a chicken or flock with Merrick's and you want to see if this can try to improve it, we'll give you the information that we learned today. So
Perfect.
Right.
that's my disclosure.
You are clear.
Do not sue Drink and
Do
Farm.
not
We
sue
don't
Drink and
have
Farm.
anything.
Or Country Fried Tina.
Or Country Fried
AKA
Tina,
Shannon.
yeah.
I was gonna say, can we include me because I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. None of us have anything worth taking, we promise.
There is nothing I'm going to
No.
give you. But I do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for listening, guys, to this episode with Country Fried Tina. I'll have links to her Instagram account in the show notes so that you can go check her out. And we highly encourage you to go check her out if you aren't currently following her, because it's so great to get to know an Instagrammer that's so honest with what they're experiencing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. And if you're not already following us, you can follow us at Drink and Farm on Instagram too. And we like to use the hashtag Drink and Farm when we are safely drinking and farming. No driving heavy machinery while you're drinking, please and thank you.
Well, bye, guys.
Bye.